Hello, I'm Marsha Ogden. Welcome to my podcast, Directory of a Dream Life 50 Plus. It's for anyone who's passed that milestone, like me, by a long chalk, and who, like me, has realised that we could be on this earth for another 30 or 40 years. So let's plan to make the rest of our life the best of our life. Before we get started with this week's episode, can I just remind you to please review, share and subscribe to the Directory of a Dream Life 50 Plus podcast on whatever platform you're listening on. And if you do want to plan to make the rest of your life the best of your life, take a look at www.googleit.com/my-best-life and find out more about My Best Life Journal and workshops. Welcome to episode 52 of the Directory of a Dream Life 50 Plus podcast. This one's called, Can You Become an Athlete Over 50? And being number 52, it is the last in this first series of podcasts. Yes, a whole year of podcasting. I can't believe my consistency. We are back next week, but it will be a slightly different format. So, this week, as I say, week 52 of the podcast, week 8, or the end of week 8, of the coronavirus lockdown here in the UK. So I hope everyone's doing okay. Now, I think, especially these days, we've all considered keeping fit in some way, shape or form. But rather than the usual options of yoga, jogging or Zumba, I'm going to introduce you to this week's guest, Robin Legat. Her approach is a little bit different. But first, as you know, instead of a handy life hack, whilst we're on lockdown, I'm collating information that I find in the newspaper and on social media about how to make the most of this very strange period in our lives. And every week that we're in this situation, I'm bringing you the best ideas that I've found to keep us productive and, of course, entertained. Now, this week, as you may know, it's been Mental Health Awareness Week here in the UK. I think in the US, where a lot of our listeners are based, I think yours is October, isn't it? But at the moment, I think we're all very aware of how important our mental health is. So it's still relevant to us all. This week, I've put together a few of my favourite mindset mantras for you. Here they are. Number 1. I am enough. Number 2. It says more about you than it does about me. Number 3. Inhale confidence, exhale doubt. Number 4. I want to see what happens if I don't give up. Number 5. Slow progress is better than no progress. If you enjoyed those, by the way, there are lots more in the Directory of a Dream Life 50 Plus My Best Life Journal. Link in the show notes. Here's my guest, athletic coach and host of the Seasoned Athlete podcast. It's Robin Legat. My guest on the Directory of a Dream Life 50 Plus podcast this week is Robin Legat, and she is from LA in the States, obviously. And Robin is a life coach with a difference. Can you tell us how you are different, Robin?
I specialize in fitness from an athletic standpoint for women who are older. So, active aging is a very common term when it comes to, as we age, we want to live a more active lifestyle. That's always a good goal, but I like to take it to the next level.
Yeah.
And I want to help women over 40, 50 and beyond learn how they can age like athletes and discover the benefits that can come. And when I talk about benefits, I don't just talk about fitness benefits or health benefits, but whole life benefits that can come from taking an athletic aging standpoint with your life.
Right. And how fit do you have to be to do that? Because I mean, when I talk about fitness, well, I do yoga once or twice a week, or I'll go for a walk. But being an athlete is a totally different ball game, isn't it?
It sure is, but you know what? Everybody starts somewhere. Mm-hmm. And what I want to discourage is for people to be scared to take on these bolder goals with their lives just because they look at themselves as not fit or not ready to do that, because everybody starts somewhere. You know, I ran the LA Marathon in the beginning of March before lockdown happened. That was the last thing that happened. It was my first marathon. But I've only been running for 10 years.
Oh, so, right. I was going to say, have you always been an athlete?
No, absolutely not.
You were a roller skater, weren't you?
I played roller derby for many years, which is a full contact sport on roller skates. But I started when I was 29 and continued through my 40th birthday. So that was the first time I ever really played any sort of organized sport in my entire life. I was the clumsy kid growing up. I was the one who was picked last for sports.
Me too.
Yeah. So, and I'm sure a lot of your listeners probably are like, yeah, me too. Like they tell a similar story or their experience is similar, but just because that was your experience doesn't mean it has to be your experience for your whole life. If you want to do things differently, you can. And everybody starts somewhere. And that's the key. When I first started running, which is only about 10 years ago, I wasn't running marathons. Like I was doing a couch to 5K app where you would, jog for a minute and walk for 2. And it was a completely manageable amount of running. And I remember, and I tell this story a lot, I remember the first time that the app told me to run for 10 minutes without stopping. And I thought that was ludicrous. Like I thought that was the most ridiculous thing to ever do. Like how can I run for 10 minutes without stopping? And when I did it, it was the most amazing thing. And so where I was at that time was running for 10 minutes was a major, major life step.
Yeah.
And then when you look forward 10 years, I just ran my first marathon. I do Spartan races, which are obstacle races where you run and you do obstacles. And last year I did an ultra, which was 30 miles. And so your goals can expand along with your ability.
Yeah. Yeah. So, presumably you're coaching because it's aimed at older women. Your expectations of what they can achieve are adapted to that, so they might be slower or they might be not quite as able as someone who's 20 is. So what level of success do people have generally? Do they do it to be competitive or do they do it just to keep fit and get back in shape?
My answer to that is yes.
Right. Okay. Sorry, that was a multiple question. It was a very bad question.
But the answer is yes. Like the women that I work with have different goals when they start, and some when they, my primary area that I've worked with recently is women who want to complete an obstacle race or complete even a 5K or a 10K, and the completion goal is a huge goal for these women where they just want to cross a finish line and get that medal and feel that feeling. And so for many, that is the end goal for now, or that is the end goal and it doesn't change. But some start there and this is my story. Some start there where they just want to cross that finish line or feel that feeling of glory or get through it. And then the goal expands along with their abilities.
Yeah.
So then they start getting the bug bites about, and starts talking in their ear. I'm mixing metaphors, but it's like, you want to try and get on a podium. And,
So what starts off as, I wonder if I could do that, becomes addictive.
And it starts with that curiosity. And I think that's important, is to allow yourself to be open to that curiosity.
Yeah.
Because so many women of a certain age don't even open that door. And it's because of the stories we've told ourselves through our whole lives, or stories that other people have told us.
Yeah. I think a lot of the time it is like what you say, sort of, oh, well, I was never picked at school. I'm just rubbish at sports. And other times it might be, oh, well, I was always on the team at school, but I'm a wife, I'm a mum, I'm a nan. Nans don't do that.
Yeah.
Oh, they blinking well do these days. So
they do, absolutely. And with my podcast, I can speak to that because I've interviewed a bunch of people and a lot of women, moms, grandmothers who tell that story that they maybe they did play sports growing up and then they got married and they had kids and they shut it all down for a while and became more of the spectator mom, where they're taking their kids to practice, but they're not doing it themselves. So they fall out of it for a while. And then there's usually some sort of tipping point in their lives where a lot of times it starts with, I've gained a bunch of weight and I want to lose it. Or their kids reach a certain age where they have a little more time again. And it's like, oh, maybe I should run a half marathon. Or maybe I should try a triathlon. I've heard that story quite a bit. And then they get back into it. And for some, they never did in the first place, where they never did play the sports when they were younger. But as they've moved through motherhood and become grandmothers, or, or they start feeling that feeling like, I want to do this thing for myself.
So it's not just good for your physical body, it's good for your self-esteem and I suppose your emotional health as well, isn't it?
Yeah, because for so many women, they devote their entire lives to other people. And that becomes the role, and that becomes the expected role. And so it helps to see yourself beyond that role and to think, what can I do for me? And this is a thing that you can do for you. And it does build confidence. That's a big thing. When I talk about the benefits that come from aging like an athlete, confidence is a big one. And that confidence can extend into your life, whether it's your career, whether it's, I'm going to ask for that promotion that I was too scared to ask for before because I'm feeling empowered, or start a business. That's what happened with me. I ended up starting my fitness business and changing my career entirely because of the confidence I felt playing roller derby. And then it can build your self-esteem. It's great for mental and emotional health. And then the side benefit is your kids look at you like you're a rock star and you're a great role model for your kids. And that's what I think a lot of women miss, is the opportunity to really, really serve as a role model for their kids by modeling this life that here, I'm not letting fear hold me back. I'm not letting these stories that I told myself growing up hold me back. And I don't want them to hold you back either. So here's how I'm going to live by example.
I'm proving how if you stick at something, you can be really good at it. It's not, things don't happen overnight.
For most people, we're not naturally talented at these things. That's definitely my experience. All the sports that I've played, I've never been naturally good at them. And you get a lot of frustration. Like, you're going to experience highs and lows of that. You're going to have good days and bad days. If you race, you're going to have good races, and you're going to have races where nothing worked for you. And the key is, what do you do with that? What do you do from that? Do you quit? Or do you persevere? Do you take the failures that you experience? And I'm a big advocate in being open with the word failure, that yes, you will fail when you do these things. There are going to be days where you experience failures, but what do you do with that failure? What do you do moving forward?
That's okay.
I'm having technological issues. Failures. So, for example, how do you handle that going forward? Do you quit? Do you give up? Or do you learn how to get better at the things that you're struggling with so that you can conquer them next time?
There's such good life skills, like you say, to pass on to members of the family and to make you feel good. I mean,
and to make you feel good, absolutely.
How do you teach this? Because, post-lockdown, before lockdown and post-lockdown, it's presumably something that you do outdoors. You all meet up and go through a course. Have you got an online course or any way of carrying on this coaching whilst we're in lockdown, or say for people who are in the UK and you're in LA?
Yeah, absolutely. Well, the really interesting thing is, So I'm a gym owner here in LA. I have
Right.
a small fitness studio that I own with my husband. It's called Rise Up Training, and we focus on obstacle race training. Obviously, we're closed, so we've been doing streaming workouts for our members. So we've been carrying on that to the best of our ability here. But the interesting thing is, I started building an online version of this business in December of last year. So
it's your fault.
So this is my fault. You know, you got to always be ready, always be prepared.
People just go to the extreme to get their online program out there.
I've been known to be called extreme in the things that I do for fun, for sport, for work. But I started building an online brand because I really wanted to reach more people than my local community. And especially with women over 40, I found that even in owning a gym, I would do, workshops where I'd bring people in, and people would come from all over Southern California to come listen to me talk, but they weren't viable members for my gym because it was too far to drive on a regular basis. So I realized that it would really be good if I created an online business so that I can serve people beyond my local community. So I started working on building that at the beginning of this year. I'd created a 12-week online program to help women over 40 get ready for obstacle races, and brought some people through that program at the beginning of the year. When lockdown happened, the races stopped. So that's been something that I've been working with, because now all of a sudden people aren't clamoring to do a 12-week program to train for an obstacle race. That's not happening. But I did take elements of that 12-week program and build it into a 4-week program that I call Ageless Armor Booster.
I love that.
Thank you. And it's all about building your impenetrable suit of armor in this time when you really, really need it. So it's less focused on the racing specifically and more focused on setting up your training in a streamlined way that you can do at home and not feel overwhelmed by all the options. Because that's something that I've seen a lot of people struggling with, is there's no lack of online workouts and streaming workouts and on-demand workouts. Just people don't know which ones to do and when to do them. So I help you create your training schedule. I help give you everyday nutrition tools so that you can create some healthy habits, healthy nutrition habits. I help you with recovery, because that's really, really important for aging women, is actually implementing recovery into your everyday routine, because, our bodies can break down easier or can take longer to heal if we injure. And so I want to help you really implement some solid self-care recovery practices as part of your workout routine, including good sleep, because that's the best thing you could do for your training. And then mindset tools. So confidence building, facing your fears, things like that. And so taking sort of the challenges and the obstacles that we are facing in this COVID era. And I built a 4-week program around that to help you build your suit of armor, to build strength, to build resilience, and to build your immunity against this unknown enemy that we're facing.
So it's like an all-round suit of armor.
It's an all-around suit of armor. So
what kind of physical exercise is included in that?
So I include a written training program that you can do, a 4-week written training program for strength training and physical conditioning that can have regressions and progressions. So, there's basically a base exercise, and then if you're not ready for that, there's a level that's a little more regressed. And of course, if you are ready to take it to the next level, you can go there. So I have a 4-week strength training program that has 3 days a week of workouts. And then I also include a 4-week run training program. And basically there's 5 tracks for this. So if you're a very, very, very beginning runner, you would choose track 1. And that's like very, very basic starter for 4 weeks. If you're more advanced, if you have maybe a 10K goal or half marathon goal, there's more advanced versions. And so I give you this right in the beginning. And then the first week is taking this information, and then I coach you into what I call choosing your own adventure. So you take this information and you choose what's best for you, plot it into your schedule so that you know, when you wake up each day, what you're going to do. And so
this is like a mix of all the things you mentioned, like the mind work and
Well, this is just week one. This is
Yeah,
just week
yeah.
one is create your training schedule.
Yeah.
And then the second week we go into the nutrition tools.
Right.
And then week 3 we go into the recovery tools. And then week 4 we wrap it up with the mental game and mindset training. So it's an online course that you log in, and there's videos where I tell you exactly what you need to do. There's milestones and worksheets that you can use. So for example, for the workout training, I give you a free blank calendar that you can use to plot out. You physically write down what you're doing on each day. So it's super clear and there's no guesswork, and you don't have to feel overwhelmed by trying to fit workouts into your schedule.
Yeah. Okay.
So I'm trying to just simplify everything for you and provide you some structure, some support, some accountability. There's a Facebook group that you join so you can meet other women who are going through the program as well.
Yeah, that's important, because especially now when you've not got recourse to classes or groups or who can chat things over and see how you're doing things, it's nice to know that you've got support, because you do lose your way and you just think, stop it. I can't do this. I don't know what I'm supposed to be doing,
The big myth about lockdown is that we have all this time, right? Like that's what everybody said at the beginning is like, look at all the extra time you have. Now, I don't know about you, but I do not have all this extra time.
No, I don't know what the time's going.
That's a huge myth. Like we have so many responsibilities, especially parents dealing with, homeschooling kids, making sure the education's happening, working at home, life responsibilities, work responsibilities, family responsibilities, career responsibilities. Like it's all happening. I totally get it. And so that's where people are struggling, because they feel like their schedule is so overwhelming that they put themselves last, just like in regular life, in non-lockdown life. They put themselves last, but like even more so now. And so what I'm trying to do is help women take a step back, take a look at their life and their schedule, find those little pockets, and understand that you just need a little pocket of time to do this thing that's going to make you feel so much better in your day. It's going to give you energy. I know even with my own workouts, like I fall into the trap in lockdown where I don't want to go work out, because I'm working out in my garage right now, like in my apartment garage or in my house. And so the motivation, I hear it a lot, motivation is lacking. But if you can just get that done, you change your tune. You're like, every single time I'm so glad I did it. I'm so glad I did it. So I want to just help make it easier for women to be able to say, I'm so glad I did it.
Brilliant.
And then give them more tools than just the workout. That's what is lacking is, yes, there are workout options available, but people aren't addressing nutrition habits. They're not addressing recovery and mental game and mindset. And I think it's so, so important. So I just wanted to package that all together and make it possible for women to really take advantage of that at an affordable price, because I understand that money is tight for a lot of people too.
Yeah. It sounds brilliant. And did you say you've got a free download as well for listeners?
I do. So, and the free download really leads itself well into this program. So it's a PDF and it's called 5 Must-Do Things to Rock Your At-Home Fitness Routine and Get the Results You Want. So it's exactly what I've just been talking about. Basically taking 5 steps to go from feeling overwhelmed by the options that are out there, because that's the problem. Again, every gym has been doing, or most gyms, if they're smart, have been doing streaming workouts. You log on to Instagram and you'll see at the top of your Instagram at least 5 or 6 live workouts happening at any given time. There's on demand, there's people posting, there's just workouts everywhere. Like that's not the problem. The problem is overwhelm.
And which is the right one for me.
Which is the right one for me. Or there's one of 2 things happen. You either get analysis paralysis, where you see everything and do nothing, or you get shiny object syndrome, where you want to try everything and you've got no direction. So this free download, this PDF, takes you through a 5-step process to help you create a simplified and streamlined workout routine based on the options that are out there. So I just want to make it easier for you. So that's step 1, is download that. It's for free. Download that for free. And then if you want extra support, week 1 of my program is basically a similar process, except I provide the workouts.
Right.
So.
Yeah, that sounds brilliant. And I will, of course, get the links from you for the download and for the course. And
Absolutely.
if anyone wants to contact you and ask questions, we'll take an email address as well.
Yes.
I have a little question that I ask all my guests.
Okay.
And that is, if the teenage Robin was to appear in front of you and you could see her, she could see you, what might she be very proud of, and what might she think, oh, I wish we'd done that differently?
I love thinking about teenage Robin all the time because I think she'd be really surprised at the direction my life took.
Right.
Teenage Robin was very shy.
Mm-hmm.
I definitely, at least the first 2 years of high school, like dealt with crippling shyness. I came out of a little bit towards the tail end, but I think she would be really excited that I face some really scary fears to do some really awesome things. The roller derby thing in particular, like my journey into roller derby wasn't because I wanted to play a sport, it's because I was in a new city and wanted to make friends.
Right.
And I found an ad on Craigslist at the time. It was back in 2003 for a roller derby league. And I was like, that looks really interesting. I'll go to practice. Now, teenage Robin might not have done that.
Mm-hmm.
Teenage Robin might have been too scared to go to practice. So I think teenage Robin would be really, really excited that I answered that ad and went to that practice, because it did change the trajectory of my life in a really amazing way.
Yeah.
A lot of things happened from there. I came up with this career. I met my husband. I became much more confident. And I think, teenage Robin I know that I look back and I'm like, I wish this was available. I wish roller derby was a thing I could have done back when I was a teenager.
Yeah. Yeah.
I wish obstacle racing was a thing I could have done back when I was a teenager, because I think, I'd like to think that maybe I would have tried it and it would have changed my life much sooner.
Yeah. Yeah.
But it wasn't. So I think teenage Robin would be really happy that I took the leap when I had the opportunity to take the leap.
Yeah.
And she would think that grown-up Robin was really cool.
Yeah. Brilliant.
And then the other question was, is
there anything that, I mean, not that we want to dwell on regrets, because I don't think you should have regrets, but is there anything that she might think, thinking as a teenager, I really didn't really want that for us, or I wish we'd not done that?
That's a tougher one for me. That's a tougher one for me, because I think teenage Robin would really like the way my life went.
Yeah.
Oh,
that's brilliant. That's fine.
Like I've done some really cool, like even before I did roller derby, I was a radio DJ for a bunch of years. I really enjoy the path.
Yeah. So it's all really cool stuff.
Yeah. And I think it's like, I've wanted, I really like having extraordinary experiences in my life. And, and that's why I like looking back, because it's like kid Robin and teenage Robin would think that grown-up Robin is really cool, because teenage Robin did not think she was cool, even a little bit. So,
how did you get from being this shy teenager to sort of being a radio DJ, etc.?
I think it's just kind of growing into myself. I went to college and I teenage Robin was always a music lover. So that's been a through line my whole life. And so, in college, I got into college radio, and that was a fun experience in my life for a couple of years. And then that led to a commercial radio job. And so, I kind of naturally pursued interesting experiences, while also kind of being a sensible human. It's really weird. Because there's sides of me that I'm like, sides of me I think are not cool, but like I'm kind of a dork and a nerd, and I always have been. So I've kept elements of teenage Robin with me my whole life, but just I've kind of experiences and explored it. And if anything, teenage Robin probably would have wanted me to move to Los Angeles a little sooner than I did. Right. But otherwise, I think teenage Robin would be satisfied with.
Brilliant. And yes, I agree having a Los Angeles address is pretty cool as well.
It's pretty cool. It's pretty cool. It's a really interesting city to live, even as an observer. Like I never came here to be an actress or get into the entertainment industry, and that's a rarity, but it's really cool to be in a city where you could drive around and like a film shoot's happening on the street, you know, in a neighborhood, and somebody's doing a photo shoot on the corner, and you know, I'd like the streets to be closed a little less for car commercials, but otherwise, you know, and the traffic leaves something to be desired, but not during lockdown. But it's a fascinating place to be. And
I bet.
so,
Now, are you still on full lockdown there, as we are here in the East?
California's pretty locked down. They're starting to open trails, and I think the beach opens very provisionally. Like you can take a walk by yourself on the beach. So they're starting to slowly open, but California has been very conservative we were very quick to shut it down and very slow to open up, and I'm okay with that.
Yeah,
you know?
So
and as a gym owner, you know, there's a lot to consider with our business and being able to operate that safely.
I know that's hit us hard because we are a family of self-employed business owners, one of which is in the hospitality industry. So it's been a huge slap. But we don't want to go back too early, because what's the point of that? Everyone talks about the second spike, and it's just going to happen, isn't it, if we start being silly about it? So
and you know, my advice that I've been taking and I try and give to others is let the people you serve lead the way. So I could decide I want to open all I want, but if my clients don't want to come back, if they're not ready, then what's the point?
Exactly, and you know, and like in a restaurant, if it's this tiny restaurant and you've got to observe the 2-meter rule, it's not going to be worth opening to fill 4 tables.
That's where we're at. Our space is very, very small.
Yeah.
And so, you know, it won't do us any good to be able to only bring in 2 people at a time.
No.
The nice thing about Los Angeles is we do have good weather most of the year, so we can train people outside. So that'll probably be our first step, is to do small gatherings outside with space. But our clients are actually really happy to train online. So they've been pretty responsive with online streaming Zoom classes.
Yeah, so, brilliant.
You know, we've been able to stay close to our community in these streaming programs.
I mean, that's been the advantage, hasn't it? The online stuff for everybody, even, you know, like people just keeping in touch with the family. And where would we get that?
And the quicker you adapt to it, the better. And we went right away to Zoom. We didn't waste any time. But it's like your clients' desires will lead.
Of course. Exactly. Oh, well, it's been absolutely lovely talking to you. And I hope you've enjoyed it, and we will hopefully keep in touch, and I will definitely put the links to the freebie and to your course in the show notes.
Absolutely. I'm happy to share all that. And yes, please download that, especially if you're struggling with motivation, struggling with getting a consistent workout routine. Download my 5 must-do things for rocking your at-home fitness routine and getting the results you want, because that's what we want. We want you to rock that at-home fitness routine.
Brilliant. You heard it here. Rock that home fitness routine. Thank you so much, Robin.
Thank you. This has been wonderful. Thank you.
Thank you. See you soon.
I hope you found that interesting. And if you'd like to know more about Robin, her free download and podcast links are in the show notes. Before the quiz, here's a little word about my Best Life Journal. If you're not convinced yet that journaling can change your life, or perhaps in these very strange times of lockdown, you're just on a really strict budget, well, guess what? I've published the Directory of a Dream Life 50 Plus My Best Life Journal onto Amazon Kindle at just £6.97 UK or $7.99 US. Because obviously, having published the Directory of a Dream Life 50 Plus My Best Life Journal, I am going to keep stressing the benefits of journaling. And now, do not tell me you haven't got time. My journal is a year long. It's undated, so you can start it when you want, and the pages are big, so there's lots of room for a reflection and planning. And it's not just a diary or a planner, it's a place to write your thoughts and work on breaking bad habits and developing new traits and skills. And as I say, at £6.97 it's a snip! If you do still prefer the actual hardback edition, you can take advantage of my friends and family discount price of £23 rather than the advertised £33. All the links will be in the show notes. The answer to last week's quiz is alien. If you want to know what the question was, you'll have to listen back to episode 51. Here's this week's question. Can you name the musical movie that had us doing the time warp? No Googling. And I'll give you the answer next week. Oh, I thought that question was easy, but it's like we always say, if you know it, it is easy, isn't it? Thanks so much for listening this week. Next week, it's our birthday. Directory of a Dream Life 50 Plus podcast is one next week. It was first broadcast on the 1st of June 2019. Oh my goodness, with no idea what was in store, had we? Anyway, if there's anything that you want to share, it can be a comment, a little story, perhaps about your own lockdown birthday, then just pop it in an email or record a little voice tape and send it to me at marsha@googlit.com. The link's in the show notes. I'd love you to join us, and please encourage your friends to do that as well, because you'll have a chance to win some prizes too. I'll be giving more detail out on our Instagram and Facebook accounts during the week. But if you don't see us there, just make sure you're listening next week. Do look after yourselves. If you need a bit of company, don't forget that you can catch up on all the previous Directory of a Dream Life 50 Plus podcasts. And selected ones are available on YouTube now. So check the show notes for the links. Stay safe, and I'll see you next week. The Directory of a Dream Life 50 Plus podcast is created and produced by me, Marsha Ogden, and it's available on several platforms, as well as via our website. So please keep listening and tell your friends all about it. Do follow us on Instagram and Facebook too. You'll find all the relevant links in the show notes. Directory of a Dream Life 50 Plus is about making our life happier and easier. So if you do have suggestions, or if you'd like to be a guest on the show, just drop me a line at marsha@googlit.com. Have a fantastically happy week, and I'll see you next time.